Up next, we have the Songwriter Circle featuring Paige Rutledge and James, the Song Doctor Gordon.
Well, I'm Paige Rutledge from Oakville, but graduated from the University of Guelph in April, so I spent lots of time here in Guelph, and I'm really excited to be here today. Guelph has been a really special place for me, and I'm really thankful to be part of this event, but Guelph is really where I started gigging consistently every weekend, kind of doing that downtown scene, playing with lots of friends, and it was a great way to meet people and other musicians to the city. Guelph, and I know you're from Guelph. Guelph is full of amazing musicians. And so that's been a really cool experience for me. And yeah, I'm just very happy to be here today.
Nice.
So,
yeah, and I'm James Gordon. I have been around Guelph for all too long. And as Paige said, it has been a really nurturing community, I think, for music. Especially, we don't have a lot of venues. Of course, we have 0 venues right now, but one. Yeah, there's that Royal City Studios. That's pretty well it.
Yeah.
But we have, the Hillside Festival, and it seems to be where a lot of musicians live and share resources, nurture one another, and it's been great for that. And I've been a songwriter for 40 years, and I'm obsessed. And the COVID for me I can't stop writing songs because it's actually, if this is how you make your living, I don't know about you, how often do you actually grant yourself permission to sit down and work on a song? Now I'm off the road, so that's what I do. I sit down and write songs, and I find the songs, see if you sing anything new too, whether they're...
Yes.
That experience has changed your writing or not, too, would you say?
Completely agree with that.
Yeah.
And actually, these last couple months unfortunate, I guess, as they have been, but it's actually been time that I've had to myself to sit and kind of recraft and give myself a new direction of where I want to go as a musician. What do I want to say in my songs? And prior to, I guess, COVID, I may not have had that time to do so the way I wanted to.
Right. It makes us more reflective.
Yeah.
And in some ways, maybe more productive, too.
I agree.
You just do it.
You just do it. Nothing else to do except for write songs.
That's right. Well, what if you sang me a song?
Sure.
Would you? I see you got a guitar and everything.
Yeah, all set up. I'm going to start with a brand new song. This one is unreleased, and I love any opportunity that I can get to play new music. And any show that I do, any sort of songwriter circles, actually they happen to be my favorite because it's such an opportunity to kind of bounce back and forth with other songwriters, but also showcase some new stuff and see how people kind of jive with it or, got to take it back to the books. And this song that I'm going to play, this one's called All the Things I Shouldn't Do. This one's brand new, not released. And this was actually my first co-write. So I co-wrote this with a guy named Sean Moore up in Waterloo. Oh my gosh, I guess 2 Septembers ago now, maybe 2.5 years, I think. Or might have been 3 Septembers. I don't know.
Time is taking a vacation now,
Exactly.
too.
But this was the first song that I ever went into a co-writing experience. And I had written in groups of people. I did that wonderful experience with you in the summer, that one year in Muskoka. But this was my first one-on-one co-write, the two of us. And so I didn't really know what to expect. And I went into the session and I was like, I have this idea. And I just had this kind of hook of all the things I shouldn't do stuck in my head. And so we actually kind of did the process backwards a little bit where I had that hook and I was like, I have nothing else with the song. And usually I go in, I'm like, I have a chorus or I have this melody or something. And all I had was that hook. So we kind of started from scratch with that hook and built the whole song around it. And this is called All the Things I Shouldn't Do.
Right.
Well, I should know better, but I don't. Thinking it'll change this time, but I know it won't. No, you never really know just what you want. One day you're cold, the next you hop, but I just can't help it. You make me reckless. Hit me with that, hey, come over 2 a.m. Right into my car, here we go again. Same mistake every time. Round and round, going out of my mind, boy. Every time I look at you. Oh, oh. Thinking about all the things I shouldn't do. 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 I should be downtown with my friends, but I'd rather take a chance than come home to an empty bed. Like a drunken night ends with a cigarette. We're the same old story with the same old end. I hate come over 2 a.m. Right into my car, here we go again. Same mistake every time. Round and round, going out of my mind, boy. Every time I look at you. Oh, oh. Thinking about all the things I shouldn't do. 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 You're just so reckless. Can't help wanting your kiss. Yeah. Well, hey, come over 2 a.m. Right into my car, here we go again. Same mistake every time. Every time it's hey, come over 2 a.m. Right into my car, here we go again. Same mistake every time. Round and round, going out of my mind, boy. Every time I look at you. Oh, oh. Thinking about all the things I shouldn't do. 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 All the things I shouldn't do.
Hey. Nice. Can I dive into that a little bit?
Yes, absolutely.
Kids, we're talking about structure here. You kind of had a verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Is that what you said you had going on there? Can you tell the nice folks listening on shortwave overseas about that? Yeah.
Sure, yeah. So, like just overall the structure of the song, or?
Yeah. So you, because it's a little unusual to do that.
Yes. I'm a big fan of pre-choruses.
Okay.
But
I just want to tell us what that is.
So a pre-chorus starts with the verse, introduces the song, kind of gives you the general idea. The pre-chorus is kind of building on that idea, but does kind of something different musically to kind of give it a little bit of a spice before going into the fun part of the chorus. That's how I always like to say it. And then the cool thing in country music right now is to not do a pre-chorus in the second verse. It's just like this new, I don't know why, but or maybe it's like my cool thing in country music. I don't know. And then I also love, this song has a bridge, and a bridge, for those of you that might know what a bridge is, a bridge comes after usually the second chorus. And it's kind of a way to say a different, or say the same thing in the song, or the message of the song in a different way, if that made sense the way I just said that. But takes the idea of the song and you're like, okay, but maybe let's say it from this perspective, but still relates to the song before going back to that final chorus with a solid breakdown chorus. That's my favorite thing to add in anything with songwriting. I think all of my songs have a breakdown chorus pretty much. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I think, I don't do a lot of bridges, but I do them when I think that I'm worried that the song is too back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So your ear, I always, my number one rule about songwriting is think about your listener first. And
I remember you saying that.
And if I think that they're going to get bored, or I'm not keeping their attention, I better shift it up a little bit now.
Yeah.
And sometimes a bridge is like a little leftovers for me that I go, gee, that doesn't quite fit a verse. It's not a chorus, but let me go somewhere else with it. And sometimes that engages the listener, and then they'll stay with you for the rest of the song.
Agreed. And like if you have something else to say, maybe the song just doesn't feel like fully complete yet, throw it in the bridge.
Yeah. That's it. All right. Why don't I sing a song?
All right.
What do you think? Unless
the
anyone else
master
is here. Yeah,
himself.
there we go. This is so new that I think it's 2 days old when I wrote it, so I should know it. I've got the words in front of me, but I've just been recording it as more of a demo, but sometimes I'll do, these days in the pandemic, if I write a song, I'll do a preliminary recording of it and maybe make a YouTube video of it or something so people get it out and about with that. And this is a song called The Great Divide, and it combined I don't know why I was thinking of a train songs, but I was playing with this little riff, which is really just I'm using a dad-gad tuning, so I'm an open tuning, and then going from the tonic chord to the 7. And I was just noodling with that, and that made me think of trains. I don't know why. Does it?
I sense it, yeah.
I get that. So, but the theme I was looking for, I have a side hustle as a Guelph City councillor, and I'm noticing with that gig that we're noticing more in the pandemic that there's a bigger divide between the haves and the have-nots, between those there's people profiting tremendously from the pandemic, and there's people that are out on the streets. So that divide's getting bigger, and a visual image for a divide through a town is the railway tracks. So those two ideas seem to meld into one. And the law is, if you're doing a train song, you have to play the harmonica. So look out for the bridge, it's low. Freight train rolling through a restless town. Whistle blows, that's a lonesome sound. Two shorts and a long as the sun goes down, all along the Great Divide. On the east side, when the shadows are long, it's like you're living inside a Tom Waits song, an American dream that's gone all wrong, all along the Great Divide. It's not just the tracks that split this town, it's a system built to keep you down. If you don't have the money and your skin is brown, then slavery's alive all along. Great Divide. On the west side, everything's pretty and green, like the cover of a high-tone magazine. Safe behind their gates, not a soul to be seen, all along the Great Divide. On the east side, you can get shot in the back for the crime of walking down the street while black. The train keeps rolling, clickety-clack, all along the Great Divide. It's not just the tracks that split this town, it's a system built to keep you down. If you don't have the money and your skin is brown, then slavery's alive all along the Great Divide. Oh, it's a ghost train ride. The wound is open and it is wide. Can't cross over to the other side. All along Great Divide. Not just the tracks that split this town. It's a system built to keep you down. If you don't have the money and your skin is brown, and slavery's alive all alone. Great divide, all alone. Great divide.
I love it.
Along the Great Divide, world debut.
I love the harmonica. What a nice touch.
Yeah, it's strange, eh? Yeah.
That's
All right.
awesome.
Oh, and songwriting hints again in that. The bridge, we'll talk about the bridge.
Yes, the bridge.
That was where I went to, oh, it's a ghost train ride. I was playing with open sounds. Too,
Oh,
right? So
okay.
it's a ghost train ride. The wound is open and it is wide. Can't cross over to the other side.
I love that.
So
Wow, that's really cool.
So sometimes I actually, maybe it's an egotistical vision, but I think that if I'm having fun singing it,
Yeah.
you'll have fun listening to it. Do you know what I mean?
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
So I like to know that the singers, as a writer, I'll play with the sound of the words too.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like I think Paul Simon's a famous example of this, that he'll write songs just with nonsense syllables, just playing with sounds, and eventually he'll find what words belong.
That's so cool. Yeah.
But someone who's a total fan apparently looked through, and sometimes his nonsense words end up in the song just because he thought, well, that sounds so fun. I'm leaving that in.
So funny. I actually did the other night. I did this songwriter seminar. It was just over Zoom, but it was with Lindsay Ell, who is a Canadian country singer, and she's like, oh, when like you're doing your melody, she was just kind of going through Lindsay Ell and Adam Roa, and she said the same thing. She's like, just kind of like sing along sometimes too. Maybe you have a melody in your head, but pay attention to the vowels that you're saying, and like maybe that's there for that reason, and then you can find words that kind of fit that. So that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, and I also, going back to the, thinking about your listener, I believe the best melodies come from just finding out what the words want, how the words want to be sung. You know what I mean? So if they're married so closely that you can just tell that that's where I want to sing that word, then those come naturally together, and I think that makes for a better song.
Yeah, I like that. I like listening to you talk about songwriting. I think I'm so mesmerized all the time.
Oh, well, I like listening to you sing, so sing, Janet.
So kind of going off, I guess, like strategies for songwriting, which we're kind of talking about. I really try, like one of my main goals as a songwriter and as an artist is I try to write something that is real to me. Like I'm not going to write anything that is not something that I would actually say or not something that I'm actually going through. And I really value being genuine in my music. And this next song that I'm going to play leading into it is probably the most personal song that I've ever written. And I was really scared to put it out. Like it was about like this breakup. It took me 1.5 years to put it out because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to play it. Someone's going to know it's about them. And I'm like, oh, I have to get over myself. I have to get over that. And I don't know, like I really do. I try to write something that is genuine to me. And then I'm hoping my listeners, whoever's listening to it, can find something to relate in that. And this song's called Without Me. And actually, just by coincidence, I co-wrote this with the same guy, Sean Moore, that I wrote the first song with, 1.5 years apart, completely different occasions. But I remember going to the studio or the writing session that day, and he's like, what's going on? And I'm like, I just have a lot on my mind. And I like let everything out. And I think that's, I don't know. And as I was saying everything I was feeling, he was taking notes. He's like, that's good. We have to use that as a lyric. And I was like, oh, this is so great. Like what an interesting way. And I've never done a writing session like that. Cause I've always gone in like, I know what I want to say. And this one I didn't, but I guess I did actually know what I wanted to say. I just didn't have a song for it. Yeah, but.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to, what's that? There's actually I mentioned in that last song, I mentioned Tom Waits in it.
Yeah.
But he has this great saying that if you want to, songwriting is like fishing. If you want to catch a big one, you just got to listen really closely, and
That's really great.
and it's there. It's there somewhere. Just have
Yeah.
to get that line out and pull it in.
Yeah. So yeah, this song, and then I released it this past January. So I released it as a single in January, which was great. It got airplay in Australia, and then I
Nice.
learned that Australia has a really big country music
Oh, sure,
scene.
yeah.
I was like, that's fantastic. So it was cool. It was a great experience, and this one's called "Without Me."
Nice.
Are you sitting at the bar with a bottle of Jack? Are you spinning old vinyl to the man in black? Are you lost without me, wondering what to do? Where are you? Are you throwing a dime in that old jukebox? Are you drinking it straight? We're on the rocks. Are you looking back at us, thinking it through? Where are you? Are you out on the town? Or are you stuck like me, trying to figure it out? I wonder every day if you found your way. I've been sitting here trying, but I'm having trouble finding the way I was before. Love settled this score. I guess it wasn't meant to be. So I hope you found your way without me. Without me. Am I what you see every time you blink? Am I why you smoke when you drink? Am I the reason she can't love you? Is that what I do? Am I going crazy? Or are you feeling the same way as me? I wonder every day if you found your way. I've been sitting here trying, but I'm having trouble finding the way I was before. Love settled this score. I guess it wasn't meant to be. So I hope you found your way without me. Without me. Hello. I wonder every day if you found your way. I've been sitting here trying, but I'm having trouble finding the way I was before. Love settled this score. I guess it wasn't meant to be. So I hope you found your way without me. Without me. Without me.
Nice.
No bridge in that one.
No. You better put 2 bridges in your next one.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Make up for it.
So I was pleased to hear you say, it was very personal
It
to
was,
you.
yeah.
I'm a needy song listener. I want to know if I'm listening to a song that it is a combination of the personal and the universal.
Right.
So because if I don't think you've put your heart and soul into it,
Yeah.
I'm not interested.
Agreed.
But
for
if
sure.
I can't see myself in there somewhere, I'm also not
yeah.
that interested.
And I
right?
really I do when I write any song I write, I try to sit down and I'm like, as a listener,
Yeah,
because I'm like
yeah.
you and I love, and anytime I hear a new song, I'm like, oh, I wonder who wrote this. And I
Right,
love
right.
going through and seeing who wrote the songs and seeing, that kind of stuff. And then you get to know certain songwriters
Right.
and you're like, oh, I hear that songwriter in there.
Right.
But I want to know that what I'm listening to is genuine to that person.
Sure.
I think that's really important.
Now, because your genre leans towards country more than
Yes.
anything else, I don't know how you've done this. I've gone down to Nashville a few times and played the co-write game,
Yeah.
looking for the hits. And how do you find the difference as far as the personal aspect in the co-writing situation?
Yeah. I'm a pretty stubborn person. I'm not gonna lie. Not in not in a bad way, but as I said, I won't say anything.
Stubborn in a good way.
Stubborn
I like
in a good way. My parents might disagree, but no. I just, in a co-write, if someone's like suggesting things, obviously we're bouncing back and forth off each other.
Right.
But as I said, like I will not sing anything, or I won't say anything that is not something I would say.
Right. Okay.
If that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
yeah. Like there's been certain ideas and we're like, oh, what if we like change it to this to make it a little more universal or,
Sure.
you know, like not even mainstream. I don't mean that, but like kind of, I guess, like that stereotypical country, not
Right.
which isn't a bad thing,
No.
but that what people want to hear. And I'm like, but if I'm not, like if I wouldn't say that, I'm not going to sing it. And then we
Yeah.
rework it and find another way to say it how
Cool.
I would actually do it that way.
I think I'm different. I've noticed when I was down there that I'm a total songwriting whore. Because if you want me to write about a truck, I'll write about a truck.
Yeah.
But still somewhere in
Oh,
there.
I would do that if I was in Nashville.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
worry.
But still I'll have to think back to trucks that I've had in my life. And,
Yes.
you know.
Okay, that's fair. That's totally something I would do.
Right.
Absolutely. And then add that personal touch
That's
back
right.
in there.
But it was, I have one writer, Catherine Wheatley, who I do a lot of co-writing with because we know each other so well that I think
Yeah.
we can say anything to each other, and then it does end up being that combination.
For sure. And I agree with that. And I find that maybe like I try to write with people more than once because then you get to know that
Oh, yeah.
person and I don't know, like you can kind of watch your little songs
Right.
grow over time and all the songs you write together. And I agree with that. The more comfortable you are with the person, well, the easier it is to just kind of be yourself. And I think that's really important in the songwriting process.
Yeah.
And I actually do a lot of writing with my cousin, which is great because he's also a musician. And I'll play one of the songs that we wrote
Nice.
together later. But I find our writing sessions are just like us hanging out. So it doesn't even
Right,
feel like
okay.
a writing session.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just going to do a song in the same tuning because I forgot to get out of it. This is a really old song of mine, and it had a different mandate other than the personal. I think this is a whole other area that I enjoy exploring where find a character that you're portraying in the song and give that character a personality and really let us dig into who they might be. And I played for 20 years in a band called Tamarack, and it was folky, and we kind of gave ourselves a mandate that we were being a voice for Canadian stories, and so we started actually singing traditional folk songs that were from different parts of Canada. And then as we toured more, I'd hear stories. I'd go, well, that's cool. And we had two writers in the band, me and Alex Sinclair, and we would find it was a perpetual motion machine. It was so awesome because I'd sing a song based on a story I'd heard, and then if you'd sang it, people would come up to the audience and said, you know that song? Well, my grandfather had that same experience.
Oh,
and
that's
then
cool.
they'd tell a story, and then there'd be another song,
Yeah.
right? But this one, I'm singing this song it also reminded me of something we said earlier. I was playing with vowel sounds again in this song. And this is a song from the Arctic, and I was trying to think of how I could convey like windy open space, kind of. And those open vowel sounds kind of did that for me. And I'm also singing this because it is I think my most covered song. And I don't know if you do this, if your song resonates with people, you tend to go back and go, well, why did it? What can I
for sure.
learn from that experience that meant something to somebody? You don't want to imitate yourself, but you want to learn from, okay, that must have grabbed them in some way, right?
Right. What did I do there?
Yeah.
That was good.
So this one has been covered by over 100 artists, and it sounds like it could have been written 150 years ago, and that was part of the idea in doing it. But the coolest thing about it is that it's become a standard with choirs, and choirs everywhere sing this. And I feel like a really elderly gentleman when I often meet adults who say, well, I sang that song when I was a kid in my choir. And the song is called Frobisher Bay. And there's a chorus that's very singable. But think about those open vowels as I'm singing it. So this is I'm an obsessive reader of lore and stories of the Arctic. This wasn't a specific story, but it was an accumulation of different tales I've heard, where if you were working on one of those whaling ships in the early days, you were probably working for a ruthless sea captain who would tempt fate every year, and you'd go into the Arctic, you'd get some whales, kill them, pack them up, take them home. But the urge to just get one more before the ice folded in over you was irresistible for these captains, and they blew it sometimes. Sometimes you'd end up spending the whole winter just because the captain wanted one more whale. Starts with a chorus.
Wow, that's cool. That's different.
Well, cold is the Arctic Sea. Far are your arms from me. Long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay. Frozen in Frobisher Bay. Oh, one more whale, our captain cried. One more whale, then we'll beat the ice. But the winter star was in the sky. The seas were rough, the winds were high. And cold is the Arctic Sea. Far are your arms from me. Long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay. Frozen in Frobisher Bay. Oh, deep were the crashing waves that tore our whalers' mast away. Dark are these sunless days, waiting for the ice to break. And cold is the Arctic Sea. Far are your arms from me. Long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay. Frozen in Frobisher Bay. Oh, strange is the whaler's fate. Be safe from the raging waves, only to waste away, frozen in this lonely grave. And cold is the Arctic Sea. Far are your arms from me. Long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay. Frozen in Frobisher Bay. Did you get those open vowels?
That was really beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I was sitting there the whole time. I'm like, wow.
Oh.
Yes, I heard your open vowels. They
there
were
we go.
gorgeous.
And you don't want to, it's another rule. I'm getting awfully preachy.
That's okay.
You don't, that's a technique to use that, but you don't want your technique to be transparent, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to listen to a song, oh, I like the use of open vowels there. You want to go, hey, that was an awesome song.
Yeah, that's honestly, that's
Right.
how I just felt. I was sitting there, I'm like, that is, I don't know. I've never heard that before.
Well,
that was beautiful.
Well, thank
Like,
you.
that was so
The other
beautiful.
cool thing that's done for me is, like you, I mean, I started out what are you going to do, James? You're going to write hit songs. And I've had a couple songs that charted, but that song, it gets sung at campfires.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be at a campfire, hear someone sing it, and I'll go, oh,
That's my song.
I wrote that. And they'll go, oh, yeah, right. Because it's sort of traveled around by itself, which is, you can't ask for more than that.
That has to be the best feeling.
Doesn't give you as many royalties.
Right.
But, you know.
Although, that side of music.
Yeah, right. We won't get into that. It's a sensitive topic right now.
Right?
All right.
Okay.
Good.
Well,
Now, would you be offended if you said something useful about this song while I gently retuned at the same time? Or should
absolutely
we-
not.
Let's do that. Okay.
Yeah. So, this next one I actually haven't played in a really long time, but I've been really, really fortunate in my life to have some really cool opportunities. And I look back at these past couple months and I've had more happen in my career or, starting to happen in my career than I have probably ever. And I'm really fortunate for that. And as I said, I was talking to you earlier about this. COVID has given me that opportunity to take time to myself, kind of recraft myself as a musician, figure out what I want to say. And this song is not new, but I still think it's just as important to me. I wrote this song as a thank you song to my parents, actually, a couple of years ago.
Nice.
Yeah, and I have the most supportive parents, and I've done a couple interviews this summer, and I find myself mentioning them, and people are like, who are your inspirations? Who are you thankful for? I'm like, oh, my parents, and they're standing outside my bedroom door. Oh. They're like, oh my God, I was in the interview. No, they're great. They're really supportive. They've sacrificed so much to let me kind of pursue this crazy dream of music. I'm hoping to go to Nashville in the spring, and they were actually like not arguing, but they were having a debate of who should be going to Nashville first, because they're both just so supportive, and they're like, we can't both go to Nashville, but they both want to come, and it's really cute. It's really cute. But so I wrote this song as a thank you song to my parents, and it's called Love Me So. And I mean, not even just to my parents, but anybody who's supportive in my life. And so, yeah, that's this one. I've always been the girl with stars in her eyes, never afraid to take a chance or been afraid to fly. I've always wondered, why am I this way? But all the love you give me has helped me today. I don't know where I'm going or what's gonna happen, but I know you love me, so I keep going on this long and winding road, 'cause I know you love me so. From following my dreams, even though they're kinda scary in the grand scheme. You were always there for me when I lose my way. So this is my way of saying thanks. And I don't know where I'm going, what's gonna happen, but I know you love me, so I keep going on this long and winding road, 'cause I know you love me so. Oh, oh, oh. All the sacrifices you had to make, giving me all your strength. All the bad dreams, the mistakes I made have never stopped you but I know you love me, so I keep going on this long and winding road, 'cause I know you love me so. Oh, 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 I haven't sing that in a long time.
Cool. So sometimes songs have different purposes. It was sometimes
Yeah.
just to suck up to your parents.
Yeah, that's what they would say, right? No. Yeah, no. Just kidding, Mom and Dad, when you watch this, I'm really thankful.
No, but that's
Yeah.
again, we can all relate to
Yeah.
that. But it's specifically about your parents. It meant
Yes.
probably more to us, even though we can all relate
Yeah.
to it. But-
Yeah, and it was the only way I know how to say thank you, write a song about it.
So if I wrote your parents a song, would they help me get to Nashville? too?
Absolutely,
Okay,
they
good.
would.
Yeah.
They're dreamers, they're great.
Okay, so here's this is the only song that ever made the pop charts for me.
That's cool.
I got signed to a record label in the 80s. With that, it was my dream band, like a 9-piece rock band. We had put out one album, but again, we're hinting around the strangeness of the music business. It was an impossible task to try to keep 9 people employed and on the road.
Yeah,
And
it's a lot of people.
Yeah. But I had fun doing it. And this one, so picture the 9-piece band in here. So my primary language is English, and that's how I write my songs. This song was written after realizing that even though that's my primary means of communication, and I'm a writer, how often it actually fails you, the language, like in communicating with
Yeah.
people. While crashing through the jungle, Stanley slowly makes his way. He said the hot noonday sun glows as he thinks of what to say. Once like a mighty Zambezi, words flowed from his tongue, and they don't come quite so easy. It's like looking for Livingston. Oh, there's a deep, dark continent between what I said and what I meant. It says, big as an elephant, the space between us. When I try to talk to you, when I try to talk to you. Well, we hunt the wild thesaurus, you can hear his dreadful roar. He is standing before us, he is screaming metaphors. Oh, well, his language is so unexplored, I fear I am lost. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. How will I get across that deep, dark continent between what I said and what I meant? It says, big as an elephant, the space between us. When I try to talk to you, when I try to talk to you. Well, Stanley sees him through the room. He's got a drink in his hand. He said, Dr. Livingston, I presume. He says, I don't understand. Oh, well, the doctor said, I've heard the reason you have come. Oh, Stanley, just forget the words a while. Listen to the drums. Oh, there's a deep, dark continent between what I said and what I meant. It says, big as an elephant, the space between us. When I try to talk to you, when I try to talk to you, oh, there's a deep, dark continent between what I said and what I meant. It says, big as an elephant, the space between us. When I try to talk to you, when I try to talk to you.
That was so fun.
There we go. Sang it out of tune just for you a little bit. There we go.
Nothing wrong. That's like a lyric in itself. Sing a little out of tune.
That's it. Okay, we'll work on
Work
that
that
together.
next.
For sure. All right.
Okay. So I've mentioned, I guess, a few times now, I just talked about this, but COVID has been, or the last couple months have really given me a chance to do some writing, do some, I guess, co-writing with, so I was up at my cottage and, you know, when they're like, oh, 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks turned into, I guess, 7 months now. But so we didn't leave the cottage. My family, we stayed up there the whole time. And my cousin Alex Damaro's in a band, and they're fantastic. But so him and I spent months and months together, and we do a lot. We've always played together. We always kind of just like mess around together. And we're like, what if we actually do something serious? Like, what if we actually write a song and, you know, produce it, record it, let's put it out there. And it turned into a fun little project. So we're like, oh, what are we going to write about? We don't know. And we have this tiki bar on my cottage, and I swear to God, it's actually my dad's pride and joy. Like, this tiki bar is his. He's always had a dream to have a tiki bar, and we have one, and it sits, and the little deck part goes over top of the lake. And anybody who knows me knows how much I talk about my cottage, and I adore my cottage. And it's more the community of people that are up there. It's more like a family, and I can't even describe the experience until people actually come. We're like, oh yeah, it's like a family, and people are like, oh, it's a family. But as soon as they get there, they're like, you weren't kidding. Like, there's like 50 people you have to keep track of. And it's amazing because it's the most loving and supportive group of people I've ever met. And it's cool because now we're on third generation. So our grandparents grew up together, our parents all grew up together, and now myself, my friends, and the rest of everybody else on the road, we're third generation growing up on the road together. So it's fantastic. But back to this tiki bar. So tiki up there is kind of used as like, I don't even know. It's like tiki, and you're like, yeah, tiki. Like, it's just, you know, like as soon as you say tiki, everyone's like, tiki, like we're going to tiki. And so everyone's like, you should write a theme song for tiki to the two of us. And we did. And it turned into, so we wrote it, and then we looked at each other. We're like, we have to record this. So it's actually set to come out October 30th, which is really exciting. So I guess that's like 2 weeks.
All right.
Wow. Yeah, just under 2 weeks. It's crazy. I've never played this before.
Okay, debut.
Like on a recording in my room, of course. But this is the first time I've played it for any sort of recording, any sort of audience. So we'll see how it goes. This is called Take Me Back to Tiki, and it is coming out October 30th if you're interested. Day, can't wait to hit the place across the lake. Cold drink, close friends, won't count all the shots we take. We know we'll be hung through the week, but it's fun, it's fun. Luke on the radio, drink in my hand, it's alright, it's alright. Take me back to Tiki, where the drinks still pour out strong. Take me back to Tiki, we can live here all night long. You know I'll never leave my favorite part of me. Take me back, take me back, take me back, take me back to Tiki. All week we wait for Tiki on a Saturday. Tunes up, sundown, sipping on that blue chair bait. We know we'll be hung through the week, but it's fun, it's fun. Luke on the radio, drink in my hand, it's alright, it's alright. Take me back to Tiki, where the drinks still pour out strong. Take me back to Tiki. We can live here all night long. You know I'll never leave. My favorite part of me. Take me back, take me back, take me back. Where Steve's on the Bluetooth, Mel's got the dance moves all night, all night. Where Karen's too drunk, Devin's too loud, but it's fine, it's alright. Take me back to Tiki, where the drinks still pour out strong. Take me back to Tiki, we can live here all night long. You know I'll never leave. My favorite part of me. Take me back, take me back, take me back. Take me back to Tiki, where the drinks still pour out strong. Take me back to Tiki, we can live here all night long. You know I'll never leave. My favorite part of me. Take me back, take me back, take me back. Take me back, take me back, take me back. Take me back to Tiki. Oh, first of all,
It's a hit.
Nice. Oh, hopefully. Actually, the bridge, going back to the conversation on the bridge is actually based off real people. So
okay.
And the first time we ever played it for some people, they were like, oh my God, we're in your song.
Hey. Yeah, you get corporate sponsorship there for that one. All right. I'll try something new again here. This is, I think when COVID hit, I did have, pause. I had a whole tour that was due to start 3 days after we locked down, so I was stuck at home, grumpy.
As we all.
And I think there was a lot of, I started writing songs, and all you could think about was the pandemic.
Yeah.
So then I wrote too many pandemic songs. But then, and they were all kind of bitter, grumpy songs. So I thought, okay, what are we going to learn from this that we can bring forward? And especially even just from a music business standpoint, we're right out of business in many ways.
Right.
But it's amplified a lot of things for many people. You and I probably knew that the music business was in crisis before COVID.
Right.
We noticed for sure that it is there because it gave you a different perspective. And instead of thinking, when are we going back to normal, what are we moving forward to?
Yeah, I like that. Very optimistic.
So this was as optimistic as I could get. This is called We Are Broken, but we'll mend. In this year of grief and sorrow, winter wouldn't go away. We dream about a new tomorrow when we can all go out and play. When the storm is finally weathered, when we know this war is won, we will dance and sing together like we did when we were young. We are broken, but we'll mend if we can just stay safe till then. On the day that all this ends, we'll hold each other close again. We are broken, but we'll mend. We all miss the human touch, hand in hand and heart to heart. There is only so much you feel from 6 feet apart. We'll do an old-fashioned slow dance to At Last by Etta James. We will remember how to romance, stir those embers into flames. We are broken, but we'll mend If we can just stay safe till then, on the day that all this ends, we'll hold each other close again. We are broken, but we'll mend. At last, my love has come along. My lonely days are over. Life is like a song.
Nice
So
touch at the end.
that had the famous quoting
Yeah.
another song in a
I
song.
love that. Yeah. That was great. I was listening, I'm like, oh, edit James and then throw some meta in there.
Yeah.
Why not?
Sure.
All right.
Cool.
I think we have time for one more.
All right.
One more.
Okay.
Okay.
Go for it.
So, this last one I'm gonna play it's called Just Friends, and this song, it was just the same kind of process as always. But for me, this song, I look at it more from like the perspective of this was the first single that I ever released. I was fortunate enough to have it get some playlists on Spotify and Apple Music, and I was listening to I think it was like something on CBC with like they do like this country station that shows some upcoming artists, and I was listening to that and I heard it and I was like, oh my God, that's me. And so this is more that song for me, and it's more that kind of hope and holding on, always holding on to the dream. So this one's called Just Friends.
Right.
I never should have bothered to discover you. You got another lover to uncover and cover too. Maybe you'll call, the pieces will fall where they fall. Wishful thinking. Don't tell me we're just friends. I just don't get it. You know I'll die in your arms. In a minute, I'm sensing something's wrong. I won't admit it. So if you want me to hang on, just forget it. Why did I even bother falling for another guy like you? So maybe there's no other undercover lover, only you. Well, maybe you'll call, the pieces will fall where they fall. Wishful thinking. Don't tell me we're just friends. I just don't get it. You know I'll die in your arms. In a minute, I'm sensing something's wrong. I won't admit it. So if you want me to hang on, just forget it. Well, don't tell me we're just friends. Don't tell me we're just friends. I just don't get it. You know I'll die in your arms. In a minute, I'm sensing something's wrong. I won't admit it. So if you want me to hang on, just forget it. I forgot you would have heard that when I sang that in Muskoka. I'm like, wait a sec.
Yeah.
That's right.
Awesome. Is there time for one more for me too? There's a thumb up for that. Okay. What a pleasure it has been sharing a stage with you.
This has been.
Yeah.
Honestly, I look up to you as a songwriter, so this is. I feel very fortunate.
An extra pleasure just being on a stage.
Yeah, right?
And thanks to the Royal City Studios for facilitating this.
Yes.
They do good work here. So I'll finish with a song that this has been covered by some country artists, although it's pretty folky the way I'll sing it again. But I was thinking about, this came up while I was touring, and I've learned to write songs on the road, but I get a lot of Nashville songs do this. I don't know why Canadians don't do it more, but sometimes mentioning place names in your songs is like a songwriting shortcut.
Yes.
Like especially because there's a whole body of American work that way. Even if you've never been to Tennessee, if you throw it in a song, people go, oh, I can see it. And that's a shortcut. You don't need as many words if you've already put them in a place. So this is uses the word Saskatchewan quite a bit because it's really nice to say. And it's called The Lonesome Cowboy's Lament. There was no blind on the window. Looked outside and watched the wind blow in the snowy tracks that led to that $10 dives door. That same driving wind swept him there again, although he swore he'd pay no mind to his cries anymore. He used to think he'd find out on the road somewhere a sign that would tell him what this restless wind-blown wandering meant. Maybe he'll find out listening to that cold Saskatchewan wind whining like some lonesome cowboy's lament. Ah, the whispering wheels and the wind at his heels would often fool him into thinking he was getting somewhere. But if he stopped to look behind him, he usually would find there wasn't really any difference between here and there. Somehow every year about this time he starts to spend all his days in wondering where the hell the last one went. Maybe he'll find out listening to that cold Saskatchewan wind whining like some lonesome cowboy's lament. Many times he's still reminded of those tear-filled eyes. Then he left back in Ontario in '85. He knows that he could never make her realize. Like the wind, he must keep moving just to stay alive. He's headed west, out to Lethbridge. He suspects some kind of death wish keeps him always on the highway in the winter time. But he simply can't keep still, and all across the Cypress Hills he lets the whistle of the wind sing him a lullaby. He wonders if he'll ever know what it is about the blowing wind that keeps his gypsy heart from feeling content. Maybe he'll find out listening to that cold Saskatchewan wind whining like some lonesome cowboy's lament. Maybe he'll find out listening to that cold Saskatchewan wind whining like some lonesome cowboy's lament. There we go.
Love it.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Out in vacuum land. Thanks. All right.
We're good.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, what was that sound? We haven't heard that.
What is
in a
clapping?
while. Yeah.
Honking and driving concerts.
Oh, it was a treat because Even though our audience is, except for you tech gents in here, is going to be remote, it felt as real as I've got in months, and just actually feeling like I'm doing a performance. And I had only worked with Paige once before, but I really enjoyed it, and it was nice to reconnect with that too. So it felt as close as you can get to doing a gig when you're not quite doing a gig. What happened when I first started songwriting, I was already a performer, and I think that I was having this experience where I was singing other people's songs, and I would do a show, and I go, gee, I wish I had a song that kind of meant a little more to that particular group. And I think I started writing almost out of necessity. I wanted to be a performer that related to his audiences more. So I think I'd always been fooling around writing songs, but I thought, okay, I need to find my own voice here, and that's going to mean something to somebody. And it turned out to be true. It sort of set me along on a path that I've been following for a long time. Yeah. I think when I think of community, I think of connection. And there is no more, after all these years, there's still no more powerful thing in any artistic expression. If I've sung a song and you listen to it and it means something to you, then you and I have made a connection. And that can be a really valuable one. And I think it's why I still do it. We want to find a sense of place. We want to feel that we're part of something. And to be able to do it with your art, there's nothing better. I'm really influenced by a lot of traditional. I grew up listening to like Celtic music, traditional music. One of my musical heroes who I got to play with a couple times was Pete Seeger. Died at, I think, 95 a couple of years ago. And songwriters that are storytellers. And because I'm touring all over the world, or was, I didn't know that there's some places I go where people say, hey, you sound like a Southern Ontario songwriter. And I'm learning that there actually is a bit of a sound. So my compatriots growing up were my friends, but also mentors too. People like Stan Rogers, Jane Siberry. I can think of a lot of just Ontario artists that defined a certain sound. And of course, people like Neil Young was from Ontario originally. Gordon Lightfoot. There was a Bruce Cockburn. There was a great tradition that I think my generation of writers sort of learned from and continued to hone that sound. And I never knew. Apparently, I'm a Southern Ontario songwriter. I do a lot of songwriting workshops, and since the pandemic has hit, if you're wondering how often I do it, I did one live songwriting retreat weekend a couple weeks ago with actual people. We were very careful, but it looks like that's the way we're going to go, is to try to do more of this online. But the songwriting itself, I've done songwriting in schools for years with kids, and doing it for adults too. And it's a kind of a nice way to give back too, I think, to the community that's supported me. I started in the 80s. There was a golden era it was a real Canadian thing, of children's music. We had Raffi and Sharon Lois and Bram and Fred Penner, and I did 2 kids albums then too. My only album to go gold was a kids album. And it gave me sort of a window, because I was doing kids songs, to get into schools. And when I found it was more useful and fit into programs better. Instead of doing a kids concert, I was showing kids about writing songs. And so I've done over 50 of them over the years, where we actually spend a whole week in a school. Every class writes a song, then we do an album of all the songs, and the album becomes a fundraiser for the school. So out of necessity, I think I got a method in place that enabled me to do, we could have a song done in an hour because I've sort of got this little magic trick I do, and I've really enjoyed it, and it's been an important sideline, just economically, having another angle to pursue, but also really rewarding. And my biggest thrill is now, because I'm an elderly gentleman, I'll get people that send me an album in the mail and say, "You came to my class when I was in grade 5." And I have to apologize to their parents because it made them be songwriters instead of mechanics. And yeah. That song really cemented for me that there was something that I had to offer that was resonating with a lot of people. You're talking about Frobisher Bay. But oddly enough, one of the other songs in the concert I did was that sort of poppy one called Looking for Livingston. And I remember I wrote that way back, like 1985, I think. And when I wrote that, I thought, hey, that's kind of like a James Gordon song, maybe. Like I recognized that I was finding my own voice. It didn't sound like anybody else's song, I hope. And then that gave me some tools to continue honing what that voice would be. It gave me a taste, and it's addictive, right? You go, oh, well, I better do that again. I got a song on the charts. And there's a current chart that's since my time, it's only maybe about 10 years old, which is called the Americana charts. And most of my albums will end up on those, but that was living the dream for a little bit. Okay, I'm on the pop charts, because when I was a kid, I used to go and you could actually pick up the Chum chart at the end of the week and see who the top bands were, and one day I'll be there. And so it felt like, I was playing with the players. Oh, sure, you got to celebrate. You get on the charts. Actually, I remember doing, with my band, we did a release that came out at the same, of the album that song was on, came out at the same time as it was charting. It was at the Horseshoe in Toronto. And it was cool to see the encouragement of people going, hey, James is trying something different here. Let's see if we can back that. And it was a direction that didn't pan out in the long term, but for the short term, it was a cool angle to explore. Yeah, advice to songwriters. I would say, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, find your voice. Neil Young has enough songs, but you can emulate your heroes to learn the tricks of the trade. But until you can find a way to go, yeah, this is particularly the angle that what I have to offer, then you've got something, and it might make it an angle that not millions of people are interested in, but they'll be more interested in you if they can identify with that angle. And also, despite COVID, you cannot generate a songwriting career from your basement. You just got to be out taking the risks and checking them out. I do this thing every Tuesday. It's a plug, I guess. Since I've been off the road, I do a thing called 2 Tuesday Tunes at 2, and just do it live on Facebook and sing 2 songs. And I once whined to those listeners and viewers saying, I usually road test my songs, and I usually try them out somewhere in Manitoba, and then I go, okay, that's maybe a keeper, or maybe I have to work on more. And someone put in the chat, they said, well, we're your road now, which was a very cool thing. Said, so test it out on us. And so I do use that, and I find, I don't know if sounds too weird, but I don't think any artistic form of expression is complete until it is shared. So don't just sit in your basement and think you're going to write something that's a success. You have to make sure that you're testing out, that you're failing, but you're trying again, and just keep that connection with people going. One day I'll fail, I know. Thank you.
Today was so much fun. It was such a great opportunity to, well, first of all, be with James, and who is just a master, just an absolute, songwriting legend in my opinion. So it was great to share the stage with him. It was nice to be back on a stage, and this is I guess like the most official stage I've been on all summer instead of live streams or backyard concerts. So it was nice to be back on a stage. It was fantastic. So much fun to just play some music again. Yeah, so I have worked with James Gordon in the past. I got the opportunity, I guess it was 2 summers ago now, part of the Sawdust City Music Festival in Gravenhurst. And it was part of a program to do, I think it was called Write It, Track It, Play It, if I said, or I might have Write It, Play It, Track It. It was kind of like we did a week of songwriting. We got to record the song and then we performed it. So it was great. And we did a lot of songwriting tips and strategies and stuff like that. And I do think about those when I'm writing my songs now. So it was a great experience. Yeah, so I knew I wanted to be a songwriter when I was super young. I actually wrote my first song when I was 10. It's called Just Let It Rain. It is on YouTube. It is not fantastic, but it was my first experience writing a song, and I had just started taking vocal lessons that year. I'd always loved music, but I just got into kind of telling my parents, I was like, I want to sing. I want to do music. And they put me in music lessons and they're like, oh, we'll see. And I remember my teacher at that time was like, do you ever want to write your own songs? And I was like, yeah. And so we started writing, and I wrote that song, and then kind of from there, it just snowballed, and I started, actually learning how to write songs as I got older, not so much when I was 10, but yeah, I'd say when I was 10 is when I knew I wanted to be a songwriter. My favorite part of songwriting, I like that I can be brutally honest. Sometimes I'm not really good at talking about my emotions or, like saying things, so I sing them instead. And I love going into sessions and just kind of like splurting out a whole bunch of ideas and being like, well, maybe we'll get a little sassy in the song today. I think that's fun because people don't see that side of me unless it's really in my songs, and kind of a fun way to come through that way. Yeah, so live music has definitely not been totally existent this summer. I've had a few opportunities to play some patio gigs and keep going with that. I did a couple backyard concerts, which were great, but most of my stuff was done virtually. At one point, I was live streaming 2 or 3 times a week. I think that was in July. And I actually had the opportunity to be part of the Campfire series, which was my favorite event. And it was just the most heartwarming thing. And I said this, I think, in an interview or some questionnaire that I did that way, that I love to be able to give back in music, and I want to be able to use, the gift of music to help those. And so that was a great experience to play for kids and families who have gone through cancer or going through cancer. And so that was a really special event to me this summer. Yes, I actually did one. I did a songwriter circle last Wednesday in Oakville. So it was my first time doing a songwriter circle, and it was with some other of my fellow country musicians, and it was great. But today was lots of fun as well. It kind of depends on the song, but like I can write songs in a day, in an hour, and then I have songs in a journal that have been sitting there for a year that I don't know if I'll ever finish, but they're still sitting there. And so it kind of depends on the song for me. Sometimes I just get an idea in my head and I write it down as quick as I can, and sometimes the song flows, and then sometimes that idea comes and I'm stuck on it for a while. So it depends. It depends on the song for me. I don't have like kind of a strict guideline. I get writer's block all the time. And I used to get really frustrated. And as I guess any songwriter would, but it is frustrating when you're like, I have this idea. What am I going to do with it? And then I find as soon as I get writer's block, I don't get any further in that song. So I'm so frustrated that I have writer's block that I don't have any ideas coming. And I found once I started doing co-writing, and when I would get that writer's block, I could bounce ideas off of other people and then kind of get past it that way, which was good. I definitely come out stronger after those. And I learn a lot about myself and find different ways to calm my frustration in songwriting that way. For me, the way that I have found people to collaborate with, everything I live in, I guess, or we all live in such a social media age is the most of my co-writes have been done reaching out over Instagram to other musicians that I know are in the area or people that I've seen work with people that I've worked with and kind of just making connections that way. That last songwriter circle that I did the other week was a great opportunity and to meet people, and all of those people are there obviously as songwriters, and then you make connections that way. And so I would say songwriter circles are a really important way to make those connections. So that's my goal, hopefully, to play lots more of those and to make those connections that way. Chemistry in co-writing or collaborating, I think, is super important because for me, at least, in order for me to be creative, I have to be comfortable with that person. And I mean, I try to be like a friendly, open person all the time, but when you have that chemistry with that person, if you're able to bounce ideas off of each other and not kind of be afraid to maybe be like, okay, that's a good idea, but like, let's take this somewhere else. I think that's important too. So yeah, I'd say chemistry is a huge factor. I do have a single coming out October 30th. It's called Take Me Back to Tiki. And this song, I mentioned earlier in the circle, started as a kind of a fun project between my cousin, Alex Tomorrow, and I. And we're like, oh, we might as well. We have all this time in the world. He's also a musician, a songwriter. And we're like, why don't we write some songs? And then this started as a fun project, turned into us setting up, it's a little shed on the property into our own recording studio, taking the equipment that we have, recording it, producing it ourselves. And then it's going to come out October 30th, which is really exciting. And it's going to be available everywhere, Apple Music, Spotify, all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, Apple Music, Spotify, definitely check it out there. Spotify's the big one. The advice I would give songwriters is just to keep writing. And even if you think maybe you're writing a bad song or you're like, oh, it's a bad idea, I don't think that you should throw that song away. Maybe you could revisit that song. And because I know that's what I used to get stuck on. I'm like, well, this is a bad song, so I'm just going to leave it, like forget I ever wrote it. And then my advice would be just to come back to it and don't give up on yourself. And yeah, I mean, everybody can write songs. It's just an expression of who you are, and don't be afraid to kind of put yourself out there and do that.